Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm working on another Game Boy Pocket from my repair pile. I've restored several Game Boys on this channel and I've backlit an original Game Boy DMG, but I haven't backlit a Pocket yet. So today we're going to bring the screen back to life and we're going to do the Bivert mod as well as install a backlight on this Game Boy Pocket. This Pocket's working and it's in excellent cosmetic condition, but as you can see the screen looks like it's toast, and that's because the polarizing film is damaged. This is one of the newer backlights that comes with the resistor built in. It's going to make the wiring job easier for us. We have a polarizing film and we have the Pocket Bivert chip. The Bivert mod is going to dramatically improve contrast when we install a backlight so that the screen doesn't look washed out. Anytime you're doing a backlight mod, the back polarizer has to go, and on this particular unit we actually have to remove the front polarizer as well because it's damaged. I've done this many times before, but I still dread this part. I've damaged my fair share of Game Boy screens. The best advice I can give you if you're going to try this is to be extremely gentle with the flex cables on the screen and to take your time during this process. There's two layers that need to come off on the back, the reflector and the polarizer, and it's easier if you just try and get them together. And a little IPA can also help soften the adhesive. Here you can see I'm using a plastic spudger, and I'm being very careful not to stress the flex cable by peeling it back. Now there's the fun task of removing all that caked on adhesive. This step took me over half an hour to get the screen to where I was happy with it. You're going to see less than 30 seconds of footage, and I can't stress enough how important it is that the flex cables aren't stressed. Now it's time to remove the front polarizer. If your screen was working before you started, you don't need to remove the front film. But mine has that burnt circle that you saw at the beginning of the video, so this front polarizer needs to go. And just like that, front and back polarizer gone. Look at the size of this chip, guys. This is about a quarter of the size of the regular Bivert chip, specifically made for the Pocket. It's going to make for a super clean, wire-free installation. There's 6 points we need to solder, pins 5 and 6 on the top, pins 44 and 45 on the bottom, and both ends of capacitor C12. But before we do that, there's two traces we need to cut between the CPU and screen connector, and these are the two signals that we're going to route through the Bivert chip instead. So I'm going to go ahead and check if I have continuity. Yep, I still do. I haven't severed the trace yet, so I need to cut it a little bit deeper. Alright, that's looking good. Continuity is only reaching the center, it's no longer reaching the LCD connector. Let's repeat for the second trace. Alright, we're good to go. No one's ever going to see those two cut traces, but I'm going to cover them with a drop of nail polish anyway. That way, I don't have any exposed copper, and there's something oddly satisfying about doing this. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pre-tin the Bivert chip before I install it, just to make my life a little bit easier. And I just used a little Kapton tape to help me align the chip before I anchor it in. Looks like it's anchored in the one side. I'll come back and top up those joints after I anchor in the other end. Let's do a continuity test, make sure everything's making a connection where it's supposed to. No shorts between the top two pins. Left pin's good, no shorts nearby. And right pin's good, and no shorts nearby. And same test for the other side. Moving on to the backlight, I'm just using the cables that came with the kit, red for positive and blue for ground. And even though the original lens was in okay shape, it wasn't really that scratched up, we're giving this guy the full treatment, so it's getting a new lens. Peeling the film off the front polarizer, and then it goes in. And once that's anchored in, peel off the back film and set the screen in place. Technically next you would install the back polarizer. I'm just going to put the backlight in and then I'm going to slide the back polarizer underneath. And when you're installing a bivert chip, you want to install the back and front polarizer with the same orientation. When you're not installing a bivert chip, you would install them perpendicular to each other. Now, backlighting a Game Boy Pocket's been around for a while, but these newer components make the job a lot easier, and the overall installation's a lot better understood. Something you'll see in a lot of older videos is people powering the backlight from the cartridge port connector, and it's very tempting to do that. The ground and power are right there on either side of the cartridge port, so you can keep your wires short, but there are countless reports of this being an unreliable way to power the backlight, especially with some demanding games. So if you want to avoid issues, even though it's a little bit of extra work, go ahead and run your wires the way that I'm running them over here. That concludes the install. Let's reassemble and test this guy out. This is not good. We have a vertical line on the screen that wasn't there before I started, and despite all the care and effort that I put into taking the polarizing film off carefully and slowly, I still wasn't able to avoid it. Needless to say, I was disheartened, but it would have been a lot worse if this was a horizontal line rather than a vertical line. Horizontal lines are near impossible to fix. You can usually recover from vertical lines. I've never done this on a Pocket before, but one of the earliest videos that I uploaded to this channel was repairing an original Game Boy DMG that had vertical lines. I was only able to get this on video for a few seconds, but here you can actually see that the lines disappeared just by prodding the ribbon cable with the spudger, so I'm feeling optimistic that we're going to be able to fix this. I temporarily rotated the polarizing film 90 degrees so that the broken line pops out a little bit better. I have my iron set to 300 Celsius, and I'm gently going back and forth over the connector where the glass meets the ribbon cable.
Oh, I think we did it. Let's make sure it's good. I think we did it.
Minor snafu before the grand reveal, but does that look gorgeous, guys, or what? This is just one of those mods that looks so much better in person than the way that the camera picks it up. The image on the screen looks crisp and deep. There's no crosshatch pattern, the way the camera's sort of picking it up. And the LEDs on the bottom, they kind of look like 4 floodlights on video, but it's not nearly as apparent in person. It just looks like a uniformly lit back screen. So my thoughts on this whole process, I have to admit this is a bit of a challenging project. The solder points on the Bivert chip are minuscule. I mean, that thing is tiny. And removing the polarizing film, whether it's a Game Boy or a Pocket, I think that's what people are going to struggle with the most. The front polarizer is a little bit easier to deal with than the back polarizer, but if you're installing a backlight, the back polarizer is the one that needs to come off. Would I recommend this mod? If you have love for the Game Boy, and I certainly do, absolutely. Using this thing with a backlight, it's just night and day. Somehow everything about it just feels authentic, and after you game on it like this for a while, it honestly feels a little bit weird not to play with a backlight. Having said all that, if you have the money for it and you don't want to deal with the polarizing film and the Bivert and all that stuff, you can get an IPS screen board. It's a direct swap, no soldering required, but it's going to cost a handsome penny more, and I think there's always just going to be folks that enjoy the challenge of doing something like this. But either way, it's a massive upgrade and I highly recommend it. Well, if you made it this far, thanks for sticking around, guys. I'm doing my first Sega Dreamcast video next week. I have a bunch of stuff coming in the mail. I'm super excited. I actually owned a Dreamcast in high school, and I've never done a Dreamcast restoration, so it's going to be a first. Alright, take care, guys. See you next week.